U.S. Olympic swimmer Anthony Ervin helped the men's team qualify for last night's historic gold medal in the 4x100-meter relay. Ervin wasn't part of the final relay squad. But if it wasn't for him and his qualifying race, the team might not have made it to the medal round at all. Jamie Yuccas is in Rio to show us how Ervin is making an incredible comeback from challenges beyond the pool. Jamie, good morning.
Good morning, Dana. His name may not be the most familiar on the U.S. swim team, but Anthony Ervin, his story is certainly the most fascinating. Later this week, at the age of 35, he will be the oldest male swimmer to compete in an individual event at the Games since 1904. But this isn't his first Olympics. He won gold back in 2000 at the age of 19 and then vanished from the sport entirely.
When Anthony Ervin tied for gold in the 50-meter freestyle as a 19-year-old at the 2000 Olympic Games in Sydney, it was supposed to be the highlight of his young life.
Going to the Olympic Games is an honor and an enormous privilege.
Instead, it led to the most tumultuous time of his life.
Part of what led to a lot of the angst initially was doing well and performing well, the social kind of like joy that comes from others and knowing that one has done well, and you kind of get hooked on that. And you kind of need that to sustain yourself and to move forward.
Adding to his teenage identity crisis, Ervin's parents are Jewish, Native American, and African American. That made him the first African American man to win gold in the pool. The only problem? He never identified as a black man.
Did it really piss you off when people called you the first African American swimmer?
I wouldn't say it pissed me off, but it created an immense amount of confusion.
That confusion added to the weight of his gold medal and his 2 world championship titles a year later. At the height of it all, he walked away from the sport in 2003.
Post-Olympic champion status was about rediscovering, rebuilding myself the way I wanted to be, not the way others were, at least the way I perceived others wanted me to be.
Over the next decade, Ervin sold his gold medal, donated the money to charity, then took off on a spiritual quest. He dabbled in everything from Zen Buddhism to the hard-partying lifestyle of playing in rock bands. Instead of a pool, he sank into depression, which at its deepest led to a suicide attempt and a death-defying motorcycle accident. Nearing age 30, he desperately needed a shot at redemption.
For me, getting the tattoos was a way of reclaiming my own skin and regaining control of myself.
Armed with elaborate new ink, he went back to school and started coaching at a swim camp for kids. Those kids helped him remember what he loved about swimming in the first place.
The water, when I was a child, it was a place of freedom. It was a place of expression and play, a place where everything else can kind of fall away into this meditative state, and I got that back.
He dove back into competition and a dozen years after his last Olympics, qualified for the 2012 Games with a personal best time in the 50-meter freestyle race. But in London, he only placed 5th.
He's probably the most interesting human being on our team, maybe in the whole Olympic team. We're going for the gold. We're not.
David Marsh is one of the U.S. swim team's head coaches. He's known Ervin since Anthony was 17 years old. Earlier this year, he started training him for another shot at gold.
He arrived at my place about 8 weeks before the Olympic trials. Didn't seem as confident as I felt like he needed to be for the Games. And then he just became Anthony again. Anthony has the most brilliant sprint freestyle stroke on the planet.
That stroke carried him to one of the fastest times he's ever posted at the Olympic trials earlier this summer and earned him a ticket to Rio.
It wasn't like I demanded this of myself.
You didn't say, okay, I'm getting back in the pool and I'm going to make the next Olympics.
No way.
He has no expectations for the future, but more importantly, no regrets about the past.
I really try to avoid regret. I don't think anybody should be stuck in the past. That's a dead life if you're stuck in the past. Life moves forward.
Because Ervin helped the U.S. swim team win that 400-meter relay race last night, he now ties the record for longest gap of a U.S. swimmer between medals, 16 years, set way back in 1924. Gail?
Wow, Anthony Ervin, remember that name. Thank you, Jamie Yuccas. Don't you love hearing the backstories of the people?
It's the history of this Olympics.
Yeah, I think so too. Another person to cheer for.